Hello, hello, friends, and welcome to the 29th episode of Dust James Anti-Imperialist America. Um, as you can see, I no longer have the flags behind me. Um, I spent this week, saved a little money, finally moved out the trailer. That horrible, dingy little trailer. Finally was able to buy a house for me and my wife and my son. Um, some of the COVID relief actually helped with it. It actually allowed me to cash out part of my 401k. I've been driving a decent company doing flatbed trucking last last at least 4 years, going on 5 years. Back breaking work. Uh, uh, well, thank you, Isla X. Thanks for joining us. Share this out. Let's see. Don't have a lot to go over today. Been a little bit busy. Um, let me see what's going on with the Facebook here. I use this service and I can see the YouTube comments there, and I can see the Facebook comments. I actually got to get my phone out and see if anybody's doing anything over there. Looks like I got at least one viewer over there. No comments. It is a lovely Saturday morning in my nice small home, very rural area, probably about 6 miles from a one light town. It's another 5 miles from a slightly bigger town, and then about 30 miles or so from Raleigh, 30 or 40 miles from Raleigh. And actually, to wire the money for a down payment on this place, I actually had to. All the banks were closed, or they're only doing it by appointments. And I needed that money wired for the next day. The closing was the next day. Had to wire that money. So I got on my motorcycle. Love that thing. And I decided to go to Cary. So first I showed up at the bank, and they're like, well, you're not going to get that done today. You should have set an appointment weeks ago. We have limited bankers. People are home from the COVID. You're not going to get money wire. So I immediately got on that motorcycle, rode about 80, 85 all the way up to Cary, fast as I could. I only had about 2 hours business time left. And then I go up to the door. Dude's like, "You got an appointment?" And I'm like, "No, but I really need this done." And he let me in the door and let me get the money wired. And then I was like, "I'm in. Well, I'm in Cary. I haven't been to downtown Raleigh in a bit. I like to go around Raleigh and rev the pipes and play the stereo on my motorcycle, feel it reverberate off the big buildings. It's kind of a big thrill for me. Do it every now and then. I show up to Raleigh and I go down in a normal park there, and there's these fences all the way around the park, and there's one black police officer who's watching downtown, just standing there, watching out. So that one park downtown, they got some horrible statues there. They got some statues of Polk. Polk's the president that oversaw the war against Mexico. Um, and on it, it says, increase the land size of the United States. Well, they stole that land from Mexico. Fucking hate that statue. Can't stand that thing. I wish somebody would tear that damn thing down. Uh, Polk Polk was a mass murder and genocide. Well, most of the presidents are normal, but that one especially. They got a statue of him up there at the courthouse. So you go around, they got fence all the way around this courthouse. They got one black police officer watching, um, just standing there, kind of like a statue. I think they put him on guard. And I'm looking all around, all the buildings. All the buildings are, well, a bunch of the buildings around there, they got, they're boarded up. CVS is boarded up. Local businesses boarded up. I saw a few little bougie cafes on the outskirts. They all put Black Lives Matter stickers and sign and paint up. Um, Motherfuckers are scared of the events. And I saw on the name on the graffiti on the walls up in Raleigh. It said ACAB, Black Lives Matter, and it said justice for Jacob Blake. And I haven't been keeping up with the news. I took this vacation to try to get in this house, and first I had to do all the banking crap, and then took me 3 days to move. Shit, moving is hard work. Ah. And then I did a little bit of research, and this dude, another lynching of a poor black. I don't know if he was poor, but he was probably working class. Um, Working class black brother was shot 7 times, paralyzed by the pigs. Another one. In the height of all this going on, this has been going on for years. I'm sick and tired of this shit. So apparently there's been more. So I mean, people are on edge. And I thought about it. So I mean, that's my perspective. I mean, I know that our black neighbors are 5 times more likely to be killed by the pigs. We get harassed by the pigs too, but not nearly the discrimination, especially more working class folks. Middle class white folks, you know, they live in a little bit better neighborhoods, but white folks who live in poor neighborhoods, they get harassed by the cops too. But it ain't, you know, but that's room for solidarity. That's why white folks should stand with black brothers and sisters who are fighting against the police brutality, and that's what's going on. You see a lot of folks, black and white, out in the street protesting against these lynchings of our working class brothers and sisters. Solidarity. That's what I always say. Solidarity. Solidarity means an injury to one is an injury to all. If they can kill our black and brown sisters and brothers, neighbors and friends, if they can kill them in the streets and get away with it, they can kill any of us and get in the streets and get away with it. And I 100% support the Black Lives Matter revolts, because that is the issue of oppressed nations, the issue of Afro America that was kept in slavery. And then Jim Crow laws, and then the Great Migration, and when people and what followed the Jim Crow laws was these redlining and brutal police forces. You can track the police forces in the cities all the way back to the slave catchers. And it's the system of capitalism and imperialism that is keeping poor folks down, working class people down, black folks down. We need to stand up against it. But that's not how a lot of folks see it. I bet a lot of neighbors, I bet a lot of my neighbors don't see it the way I see it. A lot of working class, maybe even the so-called middle class term, white folks live around me. They don't read the same news sources. They don't educated history. They didn't. Maybe they went to college. Maybe went to a private college, or maybe went to a rural college. They didn't get involved in some of the civil rights struggles that I've been through. And all they see on the news is they see Trump and Fox News telling these Black Lives Matter folks are looters. These Black Lives Matter folks are the same crap, the fucking racist bullshit that Trump said against our Mexican brothers and sisters, working class brothers and sisters, hard, undocumented workers work their ass off for nothing. You know, the same crap they said about them, they're saying about our black brothers and sisters. They're getting shot by the cops. The people around here don't see it like that. fucking Trump signs in the yard. They're told that these people are criminals. They're told these people are looters. You know, and when you get masses of people around like that, I mean, shit fucking happens. I mean, a lot of it has to do with right wing provocateurs doing a lot of this. There's been evidence that cops have been burning down buildings. The cops have left pallets of bricks. I know, but justified anger and destruction of public property. They're using these petty crimes, victimless crimes. You don't think all these banks and all these big fucking businesses don't have insurance on that bullshit? Even if they did hit one little small business here or there, that shit fucking happens. People are outraged. Things are messy. Revolts are messy. You don't get to tell folks how to be angry. That's bullshit. Right? So they're told these people are lower than human. They're dehumanized on the news. Next thing you know, you got this 17-year-old kid, Kyle Rittenhouse. Apparently, he goes out to one of these, goes away from his house. 17-year-old kid goes away from his house. Now there's mixed. I'm getting mixed reports from this on all sides. The story is skewed. Oh my gosh. Some of these right wing motherfuckers are defending this kid to the hilt and calling him a hero. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm more likely to believe the protesters in this case. But apparently he was pointing his gun. He said he was defending property. Well, first of all, what the fuck is in your interest to defend rich motherfuckers' property? Probably middle class kid, parents getting fucked over by the banks, just like they fuck over the rest of us, out there defending rich motherfuckers' property. What the fuck? That's completely irrational. But he's been believing this bullshit racist propaganda coming from the RNC, the Republicans, the Fox News, demonizing the protest, demonizing black folks, just trying to stand up and say, we're not going to get shot anymore and you're not going to get away with it. So, and he ends up killing two protesters, murdering two protesters. Yeah, Pig Cadet. It's XLX, Pig Cadet. Murdering two protesters. Wounding one. I think he didn't even get arrested for a while. I think he got arrested now, but he didn't even get arrested for a while. And I just see people are so divided. We're both working class folks, black, white, Mexican, raza, Chicano, working class folks. They don't pay us enough at our jobs. They don't give us adequate services. We have to pay out the nose for medical care. Masses of people are out of work. We're being royally fucked by these rich motherfuckers who have made millions and millions, these fucking bailouts. Democrat, Republican politicians alike have orchestrated one of the greatest transfers of wealth from the working class, working class, middle class, small business, working poor, regular folks. You know what I'm trying to say? Have took it from us and given it these wealthy motherfuckers at Amazon and Microsoft and even richer than them, the Bilderbergers and the Rockefellers, the banking and the oil cartels that really fucking run this country. All being screwed. And we're being taught, my neighbors, decent working folks, are being taught that black folks not wanting to be shot in the street are their greatest enemy. We're being taught that immigrants who Democrat laws like NAFTA forced folks to come here. We're being taught these are our enemies. These are our greatest threat. These are why we're losing our jobs. And it's absolute bullshit. How do we spread class consciousness amongst the masses of people? That's our task. That's what we need to do. How do I go? How do I go to my neighbors that support Trump and believe all of these protesters are scum of the earth criminals and all this bullshit? How do I convince them that those are our class allies in the struggle for workers' power, for a better future, for lower interest rates, for higher pay, for Medicare for all? And they have this massive, massive media system. This is genius. The RNC, the DNC, and maybe I'll talk a little bit. Well, first I'll catch up with the comments. I think that's a little bit of an intro. Maybe I'll catch up with the comments. Okay. Arctic Angel, hello, Dus. Arctic Angel, nice pin. Eatsla X, all these statues that celebrate warmongers and racists, and Nikki Haley still have the nerve to say the U.S. isn't racist. The U.S. is racist to the core. The U.S. is so damn racist. If you protest racism, they think you're protesting the United States. I still call them pigs. Arctic Angel, black and white unite and fight. Damn right. That goes back to the 1930s Communist Party. There's this story, and I'm sure Caleb read it quite a bit. There was this somewhat racist worker, and it was 1930s, about to get evicted. And he doesn't know, and he's scared. He don't know what to do. He's about to get evicted, and he doesn't like the communists. He's a racist, and the only people doing anything to help working class people not get evicted is the Communist Party. So he goes down to the Communist Party, and he and he asks, "Hey, I'm about to get evicted. Can you help me?" They're like, "Okay, yeah." And then the police come to, I might be paraphrasing this wrong, but it's a basic story. I believe it happened in 1930s. So this racist guy tells the Communist Party, he helped me not get evicted from my house. Next thing, the sheriffs come down. The Communist Party comes out, led by an African American, and 20, 30, 40, 50 of his neighbors stop him from being evicted. And the lead communist at that organization to stop him from getting evicted was a black comrade. Made him change his mind, at least hopefully. White and black unite and fight. Isla X, he's a capitalist cadet. He's a pig cadet, youth cadet, any excuse to shoot and kill. DP, it is so sad the kid was brainwashed. He's just a kid whose life is over, and supporting him will make more of him. Yeah. Like, I mean, I got people on Facebook who are good on being anti-imperialist, but they support this guy like as a hero because they believe the lies against the protesters, against the Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Lives Matter movement is not a threat to you. It's not a threat to your family. You know, why do you give a fuck if a few fucking buildings downtown, get destroyed? Don't have nothing to do with us. Motherfuckers that steal from us to begin with. I mean, it's ridiculous. Arctic Angel, if they are religious, you can use that. I know it's not popular with leftists, but it's worth a try. These attacks remind me of the Jesus story. Yes, I think, and that's Reverend Barber of the Poor People's Campaign. I think he's a little bit idealistic about some of the Democrat forces. Has been doing good work. Moral Mondays. I've been going out to him for years. He's probably one of the most um, more honest, down to earth folks within the liberal establishment um, that does good work. The local NAACP saying is "forward together, not one step back." That's a beautiful saying, and I gladly shout that to the hilt. All right, so I think I'll go into my notes here. I just went on a little bit of a rant. Been going about 20 minutes. Maybe we won't go more than hour or so. So I didn't really get. I was busy moving. I didn't really get to see the RNC. I saw the opening night, and I went back and did a little bit of research, and I saw Donald Trump's speech. I watched the entire Democratic National Convention. I was actually on the road when that happened, and I was able to watch it partly driving. I did some Facebook tweets and stuff about it, about the DNC. This week during the RNC, I watched the first bit and I watched the speech. The first thing I noticed about it, red baiting. They fucking hate communists. I mean, fucking socialism will make the American dream a reality. Socialism is about fighting for working class power. Socialism is about improving the material conditions for all working people. Socialism is about getting adequate Medicare. Socialism is about changing the system to fit human needs before profit. Right now, we live in an absolute anarchy, a system where the profits of a few rich people are more important than the lives of working folks here and the lives of folks around the world. And it's worse than that. Imperialism, Democrat, Republican alike, are involved in mass murdering, bombing campaigns, sanctions. These people that run this government are absolute evil. And they're involved in some of the worst horrific war crimes that have ever happened in human history. And we're taught to honor these folks. We're taught that Obama was a good person, and Obama pushed for America when Obama destroyed the most prosperous nation in Libya. The most prosperous nation in Africa was destroyed by Obama, and there's years of poverty and terrorism and destruction for years to come. Every single one. I put out a Facebook chat that liberals, everything horrible, all the horrible crimes you've been told that communists have committed, Democrats are guilty of. Democrats dropped the atom bomb. Democrats passed these horrible trade deals. So let's get back into RNC. So horrible, disgusting red baiting, straight up attacking, fear mongering about socialism. You think you're watching the fucking 1950s. And I pointed out the Democrats are guilty of this too. But the amount of red baiting I saw at the RNC was not subtle at all. It felt horrible. Like these people are. I am a communist. These propaganda news outlets, this RNC imperialist infomercial, is telling my neighbors to hate me because I want a better future for them. Because I want things to get better for folks. They're being told to hate me, to attack me, to see me as an enemy. Alongside with our black brothers and sisters that are fighting against police brutality and killings, we're being told that we're enemies of these people. This is the old divide and conquer. And the xenophobia, The xenophobe, like I thought the Democrats were bad, and they are against Russia, constantly attacking Russia, um, of an anti-imperialist country. That is Russia that's doing trade with Venezuela, Russia that did trade with Assad, Russia that did trade with Iran. The xenophobia from these folks. It's absolutely disgusting. Just pure hatred. These folks are appealing to the worst sentiments of the people in the United States. Absolute racist, disgusting sentiments. It's hard to watch this crap. And for uneducated, ignorant folks who are just working, trying to get, try to go to work, try to pay the mortgage, they believe this bullshit. They, all right, so, and I've been guilty of, I think there's something here to say. So, Donald Trump has almost tried to come off as a non interventionist, but at the same time, he murdered Soleimani. When I saw Trump praising the fact that he murdered the lead Iranian fighter who was destroying ISIS. ISIS, a terrorist organization the U.S. basically funded and created to destroy, to de-infrastructure, and to keep the Middle East in poverty, so they can take. So it ain't even about taking the oil. As long as they keep the Middle East in poverty and chaos and destruction, those are a few less competing oil companies, because that's who really runs this country. The oil and banking cartels. If they can destroy countries that produce oil, like Libya, like Syria, just by keeping the oil prices high, they make billions of dollars. And the fear mongering. And Trump is in with the oil companies. Trump is an imperialist. Don't let his lip service fool you. It's absolutely insane. So it's weird because back in the 2000 era, back 2004. Okay, so Bush was elected in 2000. Bush invaded Iraq, 2003, and then there was a 2004 election, and the Democrats almost came off like the peace candidates. And then in 2008, everyone's still mad about this war. Obama gets elected. And then Obama expands the wars, starts the war in Libya, starts backing the Saudis against the genocide in Yemen. Then we come into 2020, and Trump, who says some bullshit imperialist shit, like Trump will say, nuke them all one minute, and then we shouldn't get involved in these wars the other. It's double speak, it's outright lies, is coming off he's coming off more of a peace candidate than Hillary Clinton is. And now we're coming up on the 2020, that was 2016. Now we're coming up to the 2020 election. And you got Trump in his speech. He praised himself for murdering the Iranian general. At the same time, he said that we shouldn't be involved in these wars that he's, a part of. So he's coming off more, but he's an outright imperialist. It's hard to tell which imperialist camp is worse, to be honest with you. Democrats or Republicans, they're all working for the same banking and oil cartels. They all want to attack Russia. They all want to attack China. And they all want to destroy as many countries as possible and stop them from building up and becoming competition to the Wall Street and London banking and oil cartels. So I thought that was interesting. So don't let the Republicans fool you for a minute. They're just as imperialist and disgusting as the Democrats are. So there was actually some stuff in that speech, which actually does justly and correctly apply to the working class. And I know Trump is Satan and evil, and the blue, no matter who, never no wants to hear this. But I actually interviewed a independent Catholic politician from northeastern Tennessee, part of the heart of Appalachia, and I asked him a question about the Tennessee Valley Authority. The Tennessee Valley Authority, um, which was honestly the great public works um, programs, I've said this time and time and again, were inspired by Stalin's 5-year plans. The rate of industrialization in the Soviet Union was unmatched. It was amazing. What the Soviet Union was able to go from the most backwards country in Europe to a world superpower in a matter of decades, defeat the Nazis, and invent space travel. But and I'll say this over and over again, while the US was in a depression, the Soviet Union was booming. And part of what influenced Roosevelt to save capitalism so it did not fall and socialists did not come to power, they put public works programs that were pushed by socialist and communist organizers here and from competition with the Soviet Union. So the Tennessee Valley Authority is giving power to North Carolina, Tennessee parts, big parts of the South. It gave power to folks in Appalachia didn't have power before. And to this day, the Tennessee Valley Authority has been a good source of union jobs. But through corruption over the years, I think the manager of the Tennessee Valley Authority fired all the workers, good paid workers here, and actually hired undocumented workers. Now, when Trump talked to this, he was racist and he was xenophobic against our underpaid immigrant brothers and sisters. He was xenophobic about it. But Trump did the right thing by firing this corrupt official. And that was easy for him. That was easy political points for him to do. But that just shows the failure of the Democrats. Um, Great institutions like the Tennessee Valley Authority have been allowed to decay, have been defunded, and allowed to decay to the point and allowed to become corrupt to the point where they're hiring undocumented workers and losing jobs. Like jobs programs are the backbone of society. And we shouldn't be hiring this Shaktian economics, Hitler's economic system, death economics, where which is a type of Keynesian economics. Currently, the biggest public works progress in the United States, it's not even public work, is the U.S. military and the prison industrial complex, is what they use to hire people and give people jobs, because capitalism alone on itself will collapse, put influxes of money in. It's largely done through the military industrial complex, prison industrial complex. But one of the good things that happened from the 40s era, pushed by communists, inspired by the Soviet Union, Tennessee Valley Authority, has just been defunded and allowed to decay. And I think even Eric Holder, not Eric, sorry, I think that was the Department of Justice under Obama. Steve Holder, I believe, the independent Catholic politician running for Congress in Appalachia, hates Trump, absolutely hates him, rightfully so. Trump is in with these billionaires. His neighbors are mostly Republicans supporting these bullshit billionaires. Steve Holder's a decent man trying to stand up and do things for working folks. He's a big fan of Huey Long. I gave him a speech about Huey Long. He loved it. Started coming out with tax ideas, tax the rich. Even he admitted that Trump firing this dude, this corrupt dude who was running the Tennessee Valley Authority, was a good thing. And another thing that was interesting that Trump said, he justly attacked Biden for signing NAFTA. NAFTA was absolutely disastrous for working people here in the United States and in Mexico. It's part of the deindustrialization, that some would call it, are basically just moving jobs to lower paying areas. Started with NAFTA, started in the Rust Belt, getting rid of jobs in the Rust Belt, Ohio, and it also put southern Mexico in absolute poverty. The land holdings at Zapata, the 1910 Mexican Revolution, arguably one of the first, at least by name, socialist revolutions, which was peasant led, which gave land holdings that are still there to this day, and subsistence farmers and corn farmers, the grain belt in Mexico, were able to live off the land. They weren't starving up until the 1990s when NAFTA passed. And then there was a flood of migrants in the 90s or late 90s. A lot of my neighbors. I came down from upstate New York in 95 and to North Carolina about the same time that there was a huge flood. There had been tobacco workers for years in North Carolina, but there was a huge flood of Mexican immigrants in the 90s, about the same time I came down here. That's why a lot of my friends growing up were Mexican brothers and sisters, Raza brothers and sisters, fellow working class folks, people I went to school with, undocumented dreamers and folks. And NAFTA, Democrat policy, did that. And then the border walls. So one of the good things Trump's speech was pointing out some of the horrible things about the Republicans. And I think some of the good things about the Democrat speech was pointing out some of the horrible things. Vice versa. They point out horrible things about each other. Usually the wrong reasons, but every now and then the right reason. NAFTA was one of them. But if you're team blue no matter who, or if you're team red no matter who, you don't see that. It takes scientific socialism, an independent perspective that's outside of the Democrat Republican plutocracy, imperialist death economy system. It takes an independent thought to be able to analyze these things. So let's see. I've been going on for 37 minutes. I think that's about all I got to say about the RNC. It was absolutely disgusting and horrible. Trump is appealing to racism, but it's interesting that people say he's a fascist threat. I don't. I think Trump is more of a right wing populist. So he's populist in these aspects. He's applying to people's anti-war sentiments. He's applying to the anti-trade deals against NAFTA, against the TTP, and that also that issue about anti-corruption against the corrupt bureaucrat at the TVA. These are positive things that he's coming off as. He's not really representing them, but he's coming off as that. That is the populist side of Trump. And the right wing side of Trump is the racism, is the xenophobia, it's all those things. I wouldn't call him a fascist. I would call him a right wing populist. But he's not even really a populist. My thing is, we should be left wing populists. We should be communist populists. We should be populists that actually get shit done and care and fight for the working class. We, the socialist, the working class socialist, we oppose these trade deals. We oppose corruption. We oppose these wars. We were effective at opposing these wars. Lenin was the greatest anti-war activist in human history. Lenin effectively ended World War One by getting the Soviet Union out of the war. Lenin was calling for peace, land, and bread, while Gandhi, supposedly the liberals' favorite peace activist, was recruiting people to join, was recruiting oppressed brown-skinned Indians like from India, was oppressed people to go fight for the British imperialists that were keeping them down there and fighting their imperialist wars against the other capitalists. That's what Gandhi was doing while Lenin was fighting against these wars. So, and the phrase "peace, land, and bread" is one of the most populist slogans you will ever hear. So, And a lot of what these elitist Democrats attack Trump is they attack him for this lip service to populism. They're attacking him from the right, which is a whole nother can of worms. And it's all in a way of getting the various forces, the various sectors of the populations, simply to support one section of the bourgeoisie, one section of the ruling class over another section against our interests. Our interest is working people, is to unite with our undocumented brothers and sisters, unite with black and brown folks getting shot by the cops. Solidarity. Injury to one is an injury to all. We should oppose these trade deals. We should oppose these wars. We should unite and fight, poor black and brown, unite and fight for better education, for health care, for better housing. Unite and fight to nationalize the banks. Unite and fight to nationalize the oil companies. We nationalize the oil company, we nationalize the banks, we destroy the power of the banking and oil oligarchs that are causing these wars, and we can effectively end these wars. There will be no ending these mass murdering, genocidal wars until we break the backbone of the imperialists. The imperialists led by the banking and oil cartels. To do that, build workers' power, build popular power with populist messaging. Appeal to the greatest sentiments of the working class. Appeal to the do to others as you have them do to you. Appeal to helping your neighbor, regardless of their skin color. Appeal to the charity side of working class people. Appeal to better sentiments. Build working class power. Poor black and white, unite and fight. Nationalize the banking and oil sectors, and destroy the power of the imperialists. That's absolutely what we need to do. So I finished that study with David Fox. David Fox, I've been sharing out his videos. He's been doing great, down to earth videos from a working class Australian perspective, um, knowledgeable about history. David Fox, if you are not subscribed to David Fox's YouTube, you need to subscribe to David Fox's YouTube. I finished the study up with him, and I recommend that book. Let's see. If you are interested in scientific socialism, if you are interested in the history of the working class, you should read this book, History of the Three Internationals by William Z. Foster. Once you get this book, read this book. This tells you in the time period all of the great documents of Marxism. It says the time period in which they were made, gives you the historical background for the beginnings of understanding scientific socialism. So you can read this book, and while you're reading this book, there's a great study guide that I put a lot of work into. I think it's in 5 parts. There's a playlist on my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe there, and get and read this book. And you can use that study guide that me and the comrade from Australia made, David Fox, to help you with that. And that was my big project. My next big project I started. J.V. Stalin's Foundations of Leninism. This is an amazing book. Simple, easy to understand. Stalin was one of the best down-to-earth Marxist theorists ever. Stalin went above and beyond and added to the understanding of the national question like no one did before. And this book right here, I've started doing an audiobook. I got the introduction, chapter 1 and chapter 2. My next project, I'm going to be finishing this audiobook, and then I'll be doing a study on the foundations of Leninism. So if you haven't got a copy of this, or it's also available free on Marxist.org, read this. You can listen to the audiobook that I posted. I'm going to be finishing this audiobook, and then I'm going to do a study. I might do it with David Fox, or I might do that study with someone else. I haven't decided yet. I haven't even approached David Fox about this, but I definitely am going to study this next. So I studied William Z. Foster's The Foundations of William Z. Foster's History of Three Internationals. Study guides up, read, understand that. Next up, Stalin's Foundations of Leninism. Check out my audiobook on the introduction and the first and second chapter. I know a lot of y'all Trotskyist folks, anarchist folks, if you ain't read Stalin, you need to. Don't believe all the bourgeois lies and all the bullshit. Go right to the source. Read what he had to say. It will help you understand. Even if you disagree with this man on a lot of the issues, you have major disagreements with him. He is one of the best Marxist theories and continues a theory that has existed. He coined the term Leninism, which is necessary in the era of imperialism. Lenin's understanding of our current economic system that still exists today, imperialism, where the group of finance capital and now the oil and finance capital exploits the workers here and destroys countries all over the world and attacks anybody that's doing anything. It's all Leninism. To understand Leninism is to understand the world today. So I'm going to be doing a study, probably a co-hosted study on Foundations of Leninism, and that's next up in the works. Also, I think I'm going to be reading this. Dan Kovalik, I can't really pronounce his name. I saw him on Mint Press, and his understanding of the nitty gritty of how the imperialists sabotage countries, um, carry out coups, the bullshit they do to keep people in poverty, the reason why people live on the majority of the world lives on less than $2 a day in starvation conditions because of U.S. imperialism. This book, No More War, documents that and of how about so right on the front. How the West violates international law by using humanitarian intervention to advance economic and strategic interests, imperialism. So I think I'm going to be. This is my next book that I'm personally going to read. Um, I'm probably going to do a short video review on it, promote it, uh, and that's my next personal thing. I'm going to read this, finish the audio book on this, and and maybe have a study on that. That's what I'm going to do next. That's what I'm doing next. And I think I'm going to end the show today with a call. Well, first I'm going to catch up on some of these comments here, and then I gotta ask y'all some stuff. Uh, RNC was bad. When it made into a religious crusade, you're unable to change the right's minds because it is belief, not reality. That's just religion can be used to manipulate people to do some of the most horrible things. Religion can also be used, at least people's better sentiments, which are compound with religion, can also be used to do positive things, like Reverend William Barber and the Poor People's Con. Itzel X, not subtle at all. They had one man talk against Fidel in Cuba, or felt like a lifetime. Orange Convention was a clan. It kind of felt like it. Comrade Freaky, shout out to you. Um, Interesting stuff going on about Ron Paul. He actually was pretty good at pointing out some of the imperialist stuff that the Democrats are doing. DP, Latino people are the nicest people. That's absolutely true. Our working class brothers and sisters, undocumented or documented, undocumented or documented, neighbors are not our enemy. It's the imperialists, it's the oppressors, it is the capitalists. DB, I'm 60, and when I protest with Black Lives Matter, it was embarrassing how Few boomers were out there protesting in a small town in Pennsylvania. The young white and black kids were there. Beautiful. Thank you, DB, for going out there and supporting the movement against these pigs shooting our working class brothers and sisters. Thank you for being out there. And I'm trying to put an appeal out there. I live in rural America. I'm trying to put out an appeal to my neighbors to support Black Lives Matter, to support the movement for socialism. We need as many people as possible. Go out and talk to your neighbors. Boomers, talk to your boomer friends and relatives. Tell them about Black Lives Matter. Tell them about socialism. We need as many people on board as possible. Apply to the groups you wouldn't think to apply to. Appeal to as many folks as possible to build as much workers' power as possible. Okay. Looking down here on the Facebook. Shout out to Itzel Obrera. Shout out to Jonathan Brown. Glad you're with us. Shout out to Dickie Beard, mass murder. Yeah, he's imperialist. Dickie Beard, plus anti-Irish, anti-Catholic. Fuck the Catholic. Okay. Okay. Louis Fennell, solidarity from Detroit. Louis Fennell, the Ruther brothers went to work in the Soviet factories before leading the UAW. Very good historical context. Amaris J. Brown, longtime contact, at least electronically. Thank you for watching. There's tons of these. Subscribe to my YouTube. If you're on my Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube. There's hours and hours of this is the 29th episode of Anti-Imperialist America. You can hear me shouting about solidarity for hours on end. Subscribe to my YouTube. All right. Had a few more. Out of the movement, into the masses. Comrade Freaky. Caleb, slogan popularized by Caleb. Absolutely true. Actually, there was a Comrade Ignacio de la Sol, which I interviewed. Actually quoted. I think that's actually summed up better. That's a great slogan. Out of the movement to the masses, necessary. But the Panther slogan, from the masses to the masses. That is really powerful shit. Think about the slogan, from the masses to the masses. Each one teach one. Revolutionary slogans, community resistance. Like, I'm working class. I want to talk to the working class. As soon as I get information about imperialism and how the world is working, what things we can do to change it, I need to immediately tell my neighbors, get out. I can't be an isolated bubble. These little protest movements, from the masses to the masses, out of the movement to the masses. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your coworkers. Appeal to people that you never thought you could appeal to before. Think about, and don't just go on there talking about some high up bullshit that makes you feel good. Think about what your neighbors are doing. Like, think about things they're interested in. They got high interest rates. Well, let's nationalize the banks and get rid of these high interest rates. Little shit like that. Apply to their interest. See where they're coming from. And get as many people and build as much power as possible to fight for the working class, build working class power. So I'm approaching my hour. I wanted to make an appeal to folks. If you are watching this right now, if you're watching this later, I want you to do what I'm doing. I want you to do lives. If you're interested in Marxism, if you're interested in working, if you honestly want a better future for the working class here and the people around the world, I want you to start doing lives, just like I'm doing. I want to interview you. If you are, I don't care what stage you are in your development, if you honestly are trying to do good work and trying to understand imperialism, understand Marxism, I want to interview you. If you are hate watching this, I want to debate you. I want you to get engaged. I want you to lead studies. Email me, workingclassrevolt@gmail.com. If you want to debate me, if you want to be interviewed by me, hit me up on my email, message me on Facebook. I want more people to be getting outside of the mainstream narrative that is being pushed by NBC imperialist racist fascists and the Fox News imperialist racist fascists alike. I want you to talk about the needs of the working class, the needs of your community. I want you to get in the comments and tell me what are the problems facing your community. I want you to get on a live. I want you to go Facebook Live and talk about what are the conditions, what are the struggles you are facing in your community and your section of the working class. I want you to do lives. I want to interview you. I want to debate you. I want to make this a bigger thing. I want to make this a bigger conversation. Email me at workingclassrevolt@gmail.com. Hopefully, if we can spread enough and win enough hearts and minds to the cause to fight for the better future and socialism, we can have all power to the people.